At this time, I would like to invite Jane Willoughby and Ingram Losner to come forward and to share a few words.
Thank you, Rabbi, and good morning. As the Rabbi said, I'm Jane Willoughby, and this is my husband, Ingram Losner. It's actually a little strange for me to call Ingram my husband, since we've only been married for 3 weeks, technically. For those whose looks I'm seeing that are a little perplexed, let me explain. Our civil wedding ceremony was conducted on a stereotypical rainy London afternoon 40 years and 3 weeks ago. I was Catholic, Ingram was Jewish. Ingram was, in fact, the first Jew that I'd ever met, and I married him.
I was what the studies today would call a cultural Jew, deeply wedded to our history and peoplehood and to our ancestral homeland, respectful, if not immersed, in Torah, rituals, and synagogues. Synagogues, which I have come to realize, are perhaps the most important cog in an increasingly complex wheel that represents Jewish life in America. A wheel that requires the kind of ongoing nurturing and support which have encouraged and supported us to make the sometimes quite difficult choices we've made, which result in us standing here today. Fast forward 40 years from that rainy afternoon to our Jewish wedding, which was really one of the more significant exclamation points among quite a few that underscored from that day in London 40 years ago our increasing commitment to have Judaism infused into every aspect of our lives and to ensure that we were doing everything we could to ensure the health and vibrancy of Judaism for the next generation and beyond.
The last 40 years for us have been marked by a series of choices which we've made, which have steered us towards a path of greater observance and immersion in Jewish life, none of which would have been possible without the love and support of so many along the way. Equally important, it would not have been possible without that anchor provided by the Jewish institutions, especially the shuls, 3 in particular, which have provided the infrastructure within which our journey could take place, the last being this temple, this shul, where we were married 3 weeks ago. Choices such as ensuring that our children were raised in a Jewish home, surrounded by Jewish art and books, and the 150-year-old Jewish candlesticks that had witnessed multiple life events in the Central and Eastern European homes of Ingram's ancestors. These candlesticks that I light every Shabbat. Choices inspired by a commitment to ensuring that no other Jewish lives would be lost through further tragedy or through assimilation. Choices such as the decision to send our children to Jewish synagogue preschools, whose warmth, love, community, and connection caused me to fall in love with, again, but this time with Judaism. And so with that love, I made another significant choice, which was to convert.
Yes, Jane converted after about 15 years of marriage after falling in love with Judaism. And it hasn't been easy. Not everybody openly accepts converts, even if they've converted, as Jane did, in an Orthodox setting. And the series of choices that she's made throughout her life have been infused with the additional commitment that comes from being a convert.
And so again, when considering our children's education, we were able and chose to send our children to the wonderful San Diego Jewish Academy, significantly as a result of which both are firmly committed, like their biblical namesakes Joshua and Joseph, to fighting for Israel that's Joshua, and dreaming and making the world a better place, that's Joseph. We chose to join this wonderful synagogue when we moved back to San Diego more than 2 years ago. We chose to honor the founding members of the synagogue, to memorialize forever the connection that we have to Radnitse by going on that life-changing trip to a centuries-old community whose spirit is carried forward to future generations by the Torah that is behind us.
And surely that's why we're all here today. Whatever your level of commitment, whether you're board president, whether you play mahjong with the women's circle, play fantasy football, that's the American version, not the real football, or if your child has just been bar mitzvahed, or if your kids attend the preschool, we all have so many choices now that connect us in so many different ways to be Jewish. Avenues through which we can experience the joy that is Judaism. Opportunities to connect with so many and varied parts of an incredible community. More choices, in fact, than at any other time in our history. We can self-identify as Jews in ways that our grandparents' generation would have found confusing, to say the least. Theirs was about the rigor and the commitment in which Orthodox, with a small and capital O, Judaism, needed to be expressed.
And how amazing is it that we're fortunate to live in a time and a country where recent spikes in anti-Semitism notwithstanding, we have so many choices about how we identify as Jews. But let's not be under any illusion that this flexibility in terms of how we identify is sufficient to sustain Judaism as the powerful force that history has shown it can be, and the moral compass which it provides for navigating through life's challenges today. The vast array of choices that we now have require the anchor that this synagogue provides.
We've all chosen to be here today because, regardless of our level of observance, our synagogue must remain the fulcrum around which our Jewish identity revolves, and the anchor or insurance for ensuring that Judaism thrives well beyond the generations. Like the generation from Radnitse, forever memorialized, along with so many others in the valley of the communities at Yad Vashem. Radnitse, where I and others from our community read Torah for the first time in over 70 years at the site from which our beautiful Torah had been literally run out of town. Our commitment to our shul ensures that we continue to honor the memories of those in Radnitse, from the Radnitse generation, and the generosity of members of this community whose combined commitment over centuries in circumstances so much more trying than the ones in which we live today held the very Torah that we held. Their memories live on and are provided impetus and life every time that Torah is carried around the synagogue, every time a bar bat mitzvah takes their first steps into Jewish adulthood by chanting its beautiful voices. Several months ago, Rabbi Kornberg gave one of the best Shabbat sermons that we've ever heard, a sermon in which he argued that we are all Jews by choice. We all chose to be here today. We choose to belong to this wonderful shul. We are all able to choose the multiple ways in which we express our Judaism, all of which can only be sustained and enhanced when each of our choices remain connected to the centuries-old, continually evolving frameworks provided by shul. Our responsibility to honor our ancestors is only matched by the commitment, and yes, this means a meaningful financial commitment that we must have to ensuring that future generations have the same, if not better, choices than we have, as we continue to be participants in Jewish history. I humbly and respectfully ask each of you to generously participate in this year's Yom Kippur Pledge by folding over the number on your pledge card that you would like to donate and by handing it to any of the ushers or board members or in the baskets that you will find outside. By that very simple act, we'll be recognizing the many challenges we face and contributing to ensuring that our generation and our community plays its full part in addressing them. And not only the more visible and egregious challenges that we face increasingly from the outside, but from the many choices and many off-ramps that modern-day Judaism in modern-day America provides. In making that commitment, you'll be ensuring that those off-ramps become on-ramps, as they have been for Jane and me, the result of which will be to ensure that Judaism remains strong, vibrant, and inclusive for many generations to come. Abraham Joshua Heschel said this a few decades ago, and its relevance and significance is even greater today. We are either the last, the dying Jews, or else we are those who will give life to our tradition. Rarely in our history has so much been dependent upon one generation. We will either forfeit or enrich the legacy of the ages. Let this year's shofar blast remind us of the impact of our contributions to enrich that legacy in our shul and the difference we can make together. Gemar Chatima Tova.
Yasher Koach, thank you to Jane and to Ingram for your words, for your passion, and for being part of this community. Once again,